Good evening. I'm Dr. Adrian Daisley, Certified Life Coach. Welcome to Dr. Daisley Speaks. I am the host of the program, which was designed to inform, educate, and inspire you, the public, by sharing the stories of leaders in their own right, connecting people, cultures, and resources as we are faced with intersecting issues and challenges in moving our world forward. I have been looking at involving many leaders in their own right. Although many organizations, government institutions, preach youth development and inclusion, many of our youth experience different barriers and challenges to their growth. Today, to help navigate these interesting times, we have invited Mr. Troy Clarke. Troy Clarke is a renowned correctional specialist with over 20 years experience as an elite leader within the criminal justice system in the Bahamas, an icon in correctional services. His leadership ability and international achievements are wide ranging, and they make him the most qualified professional in his region. Born and raised in the inner city of New Providence, Bahamas, Troy is an expert in nonprofit management, addiction counseling, personal development training, and the motivational speaking. As the founder and president and CEO of the National Lead Institute, a 501 organization, one of the fastest growing community correction institutions in the Caribbean, has expertise and teamwork, has helped bolster the employability and employment of at-risk youth population in the New Providence and strengthen the institutional capabilities of the justice services. He is also the president of the Caribbean Correctional Training LLC, a company designed to train professionals within the criminal justice system, and his experience working across multiple countries, including the USA, the Bahamas, and other Caribbean nations. Most recently, Troy's talents were recruited to serve as the deputy chairman of the Correctional Services Review Board, which he has oversight of in the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services, and chairman of the Communications Subcommittee for the Parole Implementation Committee. An educated trainer, Troy is a graduate of the College of the Bahamas, where he attained his Associate of Arts degree in Law and Criminal Justice and Advanced degree in Social Work. Subsequently, he pursued his Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice at St. Augustine College in Raleigh, North Carolina, where he graduated with honors. He further pursued a Master's of Science degree in Management with concentration in nonprofit leadership at New England College, New Hampshire. To further complement his education, Troy has also completed specialized courses and certifications in areas such as leadership, correctional counseling, substance abuse, gender discrimination, and violence and equality. Mr. Clarke's practical training includes active law enforcement as part of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, in addition to hands-on experience in social work counseling and human resource development with persons in conflict with the law and other vulnerable individuals in society. He is a strong advocate for a better community. He's a past president of Delta Epsilon Sigma chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Inc. He's a past vice president of education for Toastmasters Club 7178, immediate past president of the Bahamas Correctional Toastmasters Club, and so much more experience, which he is going to tell us because his bio is very, very long. So welcome to the program, Mr. Troy Clarke. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon, Dr. Adrian Daisley, and good afternoon, my Caribbean brothers and sisters who are tuning in today. I am wonderfully well. I am super today.
Well, I'm sure after reading such a bio,
I don't know what we're talking about. I'm trying to figure out if I'm the right person on this show to be on the show with you today.
You are really positioning yourself as not only a correctional specialist, but as a leader for youth. Can you name 3 persons who have had a positive and enduring impact on your personal and professional life, and why?
Well, basically, let me start off saying is that as Troy being the sum total of all of my decisions that I've made over the years, I can name three persons who have been really significant in my matriculation throughout the course of my 53, 54 years here on this earth.
Okay.
First one is Dr. Charles W. Sanders. He was one of my former pastors. He's an educator. He's a disciplinarian. He's an administrator, he's a former school principal, and he was head of the Bahamas Baptist and Missionary and Educational Convention for a number of years in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And he would have been the one who would have baptized me into the faith as a young boy. And I would have grown up as a youngster, teenager within his church. Then the other one would have been Gregory Bethel. Gregory Bethel is a businessman. Also, he's president of Fidelity Bank here in the Bahamas. He would have been my Sunday school teacher. He would have been my youth leader.
Right.
Well, and he would have been a counselor, personal counselor to me over the years. And to sum up, those three major individuals who played an important role in my life would be the late Dr. Miles Monroe, whom was he was my mentor, my pastor. He was the only real father I really knew. And I served as his armor bearer over the years when he was at Bahamas Faith Ministries, as you know, upon this earth. And he played, he was instrumental, you know, like how when let me go back. It's like, you know, somebody planted the seed, somebody watered it, God made it grow. He was instrumental in doing his part in actually tilling the soil and actually stirring up the gift within me through the Holy Spirit. And so as a result, the leader who some call me to be, I just see me walking in my purpose or actually doing something I'm doing naturally. He was the one who actually mentored me for at least 5-10 years. I would have done his mentorship, leadership, his leadership mentoring programs. I traveled with him at times, and then he would have constantly, personally, actually on that ill-fated flight, I was supposed to be on that flight as well. When I say I was supposed to be on that flight, I was going to Freeport, where I'm at now, Grand Bahama, out of the capital, but I had to travel to North Carolina during that same week. So I told him I would come later on, after coming out of North Carolina, to the Leadership Summit. And subsequently, that never happened because of the ill-fated. So he was very instrumental, you know, in my life.
Now, having spoken about the late Dr. Miles Monroe, who would have been a mentor to you, and you speak more of him in a lot of the subsequent research that I would have done. You've spoken more about Dr. Miles Monroe and his impact on your life. Was there ever a time where you and Dr. Miles Monroe disagreed on a subject?
Well, I wouldn't say we disagreed on a subject because, you know, even if I disagreed on a subject with my mentor, and see, a lot of times people don't understand about mentorship and everything. The whole thing is that my mentor had something I desired, I wanted. And so as a result, I listened to him. I didn't have to take his advice on everything that he stated, okay? Right. But I would have never argued or challenged his advice. But what I would have done was done my own studies, because he always encouraged persons. And so I just wanted to see his thought. If there was any disagreement, but I don't recall, I was
Yes.
asked the question about the viewpoint that I would have had, and then he would have shared his viewpoint, and I would have seen my viewpoint, and I would have seen how best both met in the middle. But to say
Yes.
challenge on a disagreement, no.
Okay.
The mentor to me is not a friend. A mentor is not really, is more than even a coach.
Yes.
Okay, so it takes a little bit of everything, and so the whole thing is the mentor don't need me. Okay,
Yeah.
I need the mentor, and so as a
Now,
result of that, I would have submitted to the mentor's authority.
okay, now that is a great synopsis that you offered to us. One of the things that we do on this show is that we are very real as it relates to how you interact with the subject matter. Today we are talking about the role of discipline and mentoring in the life and success of the Black man, the
Mhm.
young Black man. While you were growing up, you would have had mentors along the way. Would you say that it is the responsibility of the young man to seek out a mentor, or should a mentor reach out to a young man to
Well,
begin that process?
it can be both, but if you want to reach your truest potential, the onus is on you first and foremost to reach out to a mentor. Now, a lot of times, persons who decide to mentor us will see certain giftings, certain things within us that we don't see. And so they will actually bring us to them. And I think that is what happened with Dr. Miles Monroe. When I was asked to be one of the many armor bearers, he actually gave me his camera and said, okay, he called me Edward, or Ed affectionately, because that's my middle name. And he would have given me his camera to take pictures while he is teaching or when he was out to an event that he was speaking to. And this was the first time I was really introduced to a professional camera.
Wow.
So I started learning to take photos and everything else. Cut a long story short, photography is in one of my arsenal that I do as a hobby and a side business for myself, because it was him who told me, you know what, Ed, you take some wonderful pictures, you might want to consider doing that as a part-time business. And sure, believe me, I have been doing that over the years with Daisley photography.
Now, there are many resources and even advice that has really helped you on your journey. To become and to be trained by a mentor, what would you say makes a good mentor?
Well, what I would say what makes a good mentor is one who has character. And when we talk about character, we talk about those statues. When you look at those statues you have in Barbados, I remember the times I was in Barbados, I viewed a statue, I can't remember, the big tall statue of one of the, I think it's governor or one of the past leaders who have gone. When you look at that, right? That statue, who's that?
The Honorable Errol Walter Barrow.
Right.
Yes.
When you look at that statue, if it rains, that statue doesn't move. If hurricane comes, that statue doesn't move. If somebody throw paint on that statue doesn't move. So I look at character first and foremost of the individual you would like to mentor you as that statue. One with character that doesn't change, one with integrity that is the same in the dark that will be in the light. That is very important. One that is consistent in what it says, and one that actually exemplifies. And all I'm doing is repeating the same thing of character, sound good character. And for me, it would have one who had spirituality, and not just spirituality, because we could find spirituality in Buddha or Buddhist or confusions or Islam and everything. But for me, it was the Christian faith, and I locked on to the kingdom of God, biblical principles.
Yes, understood. Now, what has been your biggest accomplishment in your career so far, in your opinion?
Well, for me, I'm not even in a career. I left a career when I left the governmental service 17 years ago, when I worked as a military person, and then I went into social services as a probation officer, and subsequently, when I resigned from government, during my career time as a welfare officer in the prison. Now I'm actually walking in my purpose, pursuing the vision that God has given me. So I call it a ministry. So to answer that question, what I see as one of the biggest accomplishments in my ministry is actually seeing a young man come out of prison, never to return. His name is Philip Morse. He served 17 years in prison. I had connection with him while he was in prison, and I had connection with him outside of prison. And to see him become a young man, never to return in a lifestyle of crime as such, that was one of my biggest accomplishments, seeing him succeed. And next to that was those 85% of those individuals who would have completed the Eagles Academy and who actually went on to be college graduates and to be honored abroad in university. I saw that as my biggest accomplishment, seeing those individuals succeed by me putting in my little 5 cents into their life, while others might have put in theirs. I was a part of the team that helped mold and shape that person. So I look at those successful individuals as a part of my accomplishment.
Now, Troy, many people believe that young men and mentoring them is challenging to the point of becoming overwhelming and sometimes even too much. Single mothers, for example, sometimes for the college institution, the school institution, even sometimes the church institution. Why do you think that people believe that?
Well, like Dr. Charles Sanders, even Dr. Miles Monroe, even Gregory Bethel, all of my mentors, a lot of times people are passionate to help people and to do things, but where they fall short, they do not take the advice that the greatest man that ever lived on this earth, Yeshua, Jesus the Christ, stated, "Be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove." And as a result of not doing that, preparing oneself to deal with individuals who face challenges within their lives. People really don't want to know how much we know. They want to know how much we care. And so to become empathetic, and I go beyond empathy, to be compassionate and to understand where they are, not accepting the wrongs that they did, but to understand and to be compassionate to see where they came from and to see where they are going and where they are now. And having that connection, having that relationship with the individual, because you cannot instruct anybody unless you create a relationship with them. So I can't go and criticize or try to critique you, Dr. A, Daisley, if I have not developed a relationship with you on some level for me to critique or give you my opinion.
Yes.
Would be called I even forget that adjective. But anyway.
Understood.
And that's the reason why a lot of us might have challenges when we try to mentor those young people who face some form of challenge in their lives.
Now, let's pull it back a little bit.
Okay.
Let's pull it back and personalize it.
Mm-hmm.
What um, is the most biggest impact? What is the most biggest impact that mentorship has had on your life?
Well, the biggest impact mentorship had on my life is finding my purpose and realizing the vision that I have for every aspect of my life, and walking on and maximizing the potential while walking in my purpose. So
Yes.
that is what mentorship had on my life.
What would you prefer? Would you prefer a mentor who says something, who lies to you and does the opposite, or tells you the truth and does something wrong? Again, which would you prefer? A mentor who lies to you and does the opposite, or a mentor who tells you the truth and does something wrong?
Well, that goes back to what I shared with you about the characteristics of mentorship, uh, integrity, character, those those kind of characteristics, the foundation characteristics. So to answer your question, that in itself answered your question. All of us are mere men. We don't use our weakness as crutches to give excuse for the wrong that we do.
Yeah.
We should always do is always strive towards perfection to overcome those challenges.
That's actually what I'm getting at, Troy. I'm getting at the fact that most people go and look for mentors who are perfect,
Yes.
who don't have the humility enough to say, guess what?
I
can help you. I was wrong,
Yes.
but I'm struggling in this area. We have people who put persons on pedestals, and there's nothing wrong with putting people on pedestals. But what happens is the relationship is deteriorated when we realize not that the person is a failure, but the person is human. And so
because what I'm saying, like another good friend of mine who is much younger than me, Dr. Corey Roll, is call him a DJ counselor, and he just called me the other day. I don't know if you know that name, DJ counselor. Helping young. He just turned 40 the other couple months ago. Just turned 40, and he came up as a youngster singing rap, reggae in the gospel, leading people to Christ. He's well known throughout the Bahamas, DJing and preaching and teaching. He's the youth pastor at the church I came from, Bahamas Faith Ministries. And he came up under Dr. Miles Monroe as well. And I always remember a conversation we had just last week when we talk about having we lose respect for people who are supposed to be, and they call themselves apostle, doctors, bishop, all of these kind of things. And when they give the prophetic word, they give it in error. And as time goes on, you see the error, but they never come back to the public and say, I was wrong. I spoke in error. And see, those kind of people who might have spoken in error, but yet carries a title, but have the gall or the gumption, like we say in Bahamian vernacular, to actually say, I was wrong, we can have respect for them. But when they don't come back to us and say, wrong. There was a preacher from your country who came here.
You're cutting yourself.
I want out of it.
Because the reality is this, Troy. I really like the fact that we can speak openly about this, because one of the foundations of leadership I have found is humility and serving others.
Yes.
I believe, Troy, that through all of my errors, all that I've been through with God, I have learned how to be a leader. and I have learned what a mentor should look like. However, when I started out, Troy, I'm not sure this happened to you. When I started out, I looked for a mentor. I looked for a mentor who had skills, talents, different things that I would like to learn. My initial searching was not for character, okay? Because I have a father who has character. So I was looking for those other skills that I couldn't.
Okay.
Yeah. But as I grew in Christ, I learned that you don't know everything, no matter how many titles of what. And so when a person deception is deceptional towards the congregation, towards the public, even our political leaders, they do not have the humility to come to the public and say, you know what, we were wrong.
Right.
Yet still they expect to have continued following.
Yes.
And they think that is an error.
And you know, the difference with you and I never looked for a mentor. I didn't know anything about mentorship until I was already mentored. Okay. So for me, I realized that I was mentored, and I realized this would let me correct myself here. The only time I actually looked for a mentor, I was already past 40 years old. And when offering the mentorship program, the leadership mentoring program, I said, you know what, I want to be a leader too. So that's when I go on to be, you know, and that's what I look for in that. And this is where I learned about characteristics and when you're looking for mentors and all of those kind of things. But I realized I was being mentored. And today I mentor young men. And I would agree with what you were saying, because our mantra is all men fall, but the great ones get back up. You do not drown by falling into the water.
You can't just say that so fast, man. You got to repeat that slowly. That's very powerful.
This is our mantra for the Lead Institute and all of our clients who live in Bahamas Department of Correctional Services, those who are in the Eagles Academy, who come through our program, who are challenged. They have to learn this mantra. And even the 4 boys who we took to Barbados when we were sponsored by the U.S. Embassy, and all of the kids down in Barbados who were at the No Witness, No Justice conference down there. I remember my time down there in 2012 with those boys, 4 of them students. And the mantra is, all men fall, but the great ones get back up. You do not drown by falling into the water. You drown by staying there. I do not decide my future. I decide my habits, and my habits decide my future. Whoop!
Now, what are some common myths, having been a mentor, about education and the young black man that you have come across? What are some of the myths?
Well, okay, I don't know if I'm not sure if I understand this question when you say, what are some of the myths of a mentor?
Yeah, what are some of the myths that you have come across while being a mentor that general public says one thing, but you've discovered something else about the black man?
Right. A lot of times they think mentor is a father. Sometimes the myth is that the mentor is your father, the mentor is your friend, the mentor is your coach. The mentor is none of those, because actually the mentor ain't your friend. He isn't to say things that you like and stuff like that. He says the reality of things and where he see you at, to where you want to go. We believe some of the myths personally, I have seen that individuals think mentors, and the main one is actually that the mentor is your friend. And when your friend, basically, not saying he's not friendly to you, but your friend condones, your friend will actually allow the foolishness stuff we do. So, man, you my friend, man, look here, You're not gonna, don't pimp on me, don't talk on me, stuff like that. But that's one of the major myths I've known about in mentoring. Then also mentoring is, you think because I'm your mentor, I'm your grocery store. I supposed to supply you financially. I supposed to give you fish. No, I'm supposed to teach you how to fish.
Yes.
Another myth of mentorship. Okay.
So, I want to put a pin there and just add this, Troy. The mentorship happens every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was in the kitchen and I was about to experiment with a new recipe, brown down beef stew with potatoes and vegetables. And this thought came to me: call one of your mentees, a young boy. He's probably just turned 11, right? And I called him and I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm playing video games." I said, "Put up the game. Let's go to the kitchen." So I put him on my screen and we did the beef stew together. Afterwards, his job was to write a report about what he learned and how he can produce a different recipe using these principles. And he has to give me a report by Wednesday. But I said that to say what I've learned is that mentorship happens every day. Sometimes even the mentor is trying to be perfect for the mentee, to show that side. But a mentor is not supposed to have all the answers. That's just one of the gifts. And are there any resources or even advice that have really helped you on your journey to becoming a mentor yourself?
Well, a lot of things. First and foremost, one was spending that time in the presence of God. That has really, really helped me. Let me tell you something. For 40 years, I thought I was the man. 40 years, I really thought I was the male man. And I realized all of the mistakes and all of the foolishness, all the garbage that I've done in my life was because I didn't know what it is to be a real man. That I thought. I came through the military, I went to college, I got my degrees and everything.
Yes.
And it wasn't until 2017 when I got rebaptized.
Wow.
Lead was going on for 12 years. That I really I moved into a closer relationship with God in 2017. And this was even after the passing of Dr. Miles, because, in the life of mentorship, in the life of the walk and the journey, you sometimes will lapse. Sometimes, for some of us, we will relapse. And I like to use those terminologies as an addiction professional. But this was one of the pivotal, this was one of the watershed moments in my life, 2017. There are many watershed moments in my life, but this is one when I got rebaptized and I was able to actually change the mindset and the way I did things. And I became very, very transparent with everyone I knew, to the level of transparency I needed to be with them. If I was close with you, then you had this level of transparency with me that you never had before after 2017. And that's the way it developed for me. And so I saw my life journey happen through the experiences, through the downfalls, and through the spiritual connection I had with my Creator. That has actually empowered me to consistently and spending time with God every morning before I start my daily work, every morning, okay, Mondays through. And that isn't because I try to big my chest up to say, no, because I realize without Him, I am nothing. Without Him, lead wouldn't be. It was Him who gave me lead. And the failures that we hadn't laid was because I thought it was all about me. And when I had the success in lead, that's when I realized it is about Him. And so, go on.
And Troy, in talking about the principles that are coming out and what you're saying, principles like humility, principles like admitting when you are wrong,
Right.
taking an active assessment of yourself, an honest assessment, because sometimes we have an overachieving concept of who we are, because we are comparing ourselves to maybe things that are lower than our standard, for example. And I remember one of my mentors who's now passed, um, would always say to me, if you cannot look at yourself in the mirror when you go to bed at night, before you go to bed at night, and like what you see and what you've done through the day to get to where you are, then you should get on your knees and ask the Creator for forgiveness. And my mentor was not a Christian,
Okay.
but one thing that I learned, Troy, is that we as men, male mentors, find it really, really hard to say sorry, to ask for forgiveness.
Right.
So looking at men and the young black male, what are some of the strategies that you have employed to help young men say sorry to the persons that they've hurt in the past and forgive themselves?
Well, it comes all about, see, when we don't know our identity, the problem is we can't appreciate somebody else's identity until we can answer these 5 questions. Who am I? Where am I from? What can I do?
My
Why
father sent me
am
a
I here?
message.
Say again?
Yeah. My dad is sending me a message on WhatsApp. Yeah, he's listening. He's
Like,
listening.
why am I here? And
Yeah.
where am I going? Which deals with your heritage, which deals with your potential, which deals with your purpose, which deals with your identity, and which deals with your destiny. Then you will have no appreciation for another human being, another life. And that's why even after reading Dr. Walden, I think that's his name, former commissioner of police in St. Kitts and Nevis, that reading, after reading that, we realized why we as Black in the diaspora, in the Caribbean per se, struggling with so many issues, because we have not helped our young people know who they are and whose they are and their potential, their purpose, and helping them find their destiny. Like Marcus Mosier Garvey once said, a people without knowledge of their past is like tree without roots. Also, let's go to Gandhi, even Mahatma Gandhi, and these. See, you don't even have to be a Christian to know life's principles. And say, I look at the Bible as the Constitution, as a book of principles. If you find those principles, anybody who find those principles, whether they are Buddhists, whether they are Hindus, whether they are Muslim, they lock onto those principles from the Bible, and they apply them to their lives, they will be successful. They will live a abundant life. That's why so much of us who call the name of Christ, we live a defeated life. Why? Because we have this big book and the big cross in front of us, but we don't apply the secrets of the kingdom that Jesus talked about to his disciples. Mahatma Gandhi says, here's one of the principles: politics, things that will destroy us and that are destroying our Black communities. Politics without principle, pleasure without conscience. I mean, you see, HIV was rampant when it was in the day. Wealth without work. Then you look at the drug trade and all of those things, and now you have human trafficking and so forth like that. Wealth without work. Knowledge without character. Man, you know what it is to find somebody who have a lot of knowledge, who's so smart and don't have character.
Yeah, well, you see that all the time.
Yes. Corruption.
Let's unpack that. Mention the first one. Repeat the first one.
The first one is politics without principle. Okay? And just look at our political leaders throughout the Caribbean.
I was just going to touch on that. You know?
We are challenged. We are challenged. You know why? Let me tell you why. And I learned this from my mentor as well. We are former colonies of Great Britain, and we were being oppressed by our slave masters. And look at the Bible says, woe unto you when a slave becomes king. So the slave masters oppressed us, and when we became rulers, we put more heavier burden on our people. We became worse than.
But the principle there isn't the slave becoming king as much as it is the slavery mentality having authority. Yeah. Okay. Just making sure we clarify that because you know, Christ was a slave and Moses was a slave. Yeah. So the transformation of the mentality. Just clarify.
It's the mindset because and even the bill on what you said, what you clarified just now. I remember in the military, I always say, why when these guys, we all at the same level at the bottom, when they rise and get promotion, they at the bottom we say, boy, if I ever get leadership here, I will do this and I will do that. And when they become leaders, they become worse than the leaders who we talk about. And that's the problem with politics without principle. And then your pleasure without conscience. And that in itself is self-explanatory, because the thing is, I always ask my students, I always ask my clients, raise your hands and tell me, how many of you ever wanted to be a criminal? How many of you ever wanted to be to be here in prison? None of them raised their hand. But I guess what I said, guess what? You know what you did? You start stealing. And you know what you mean? I say stealing, thieving. That's a vernacular, thieving out of the cookie jar. When you're small, thieving money dollar out of a purse when you're small. And then you escalated going in the shop, putting it underneath your shirt and walking in the shop, stealing the candy and so forth. Then in school, you start taking people, bullying. And then you gone to the big league, getting the gun, armed robbery, and you meet yourself here in prison. And
so let's bring a balance to that statement you just made, because you have situations where young people steal because they lack. Yeah.
No. I came up with a single parent, shotgun house, outside toilet. Okay. It is the values that we see. So you gotta remember, a lot of poor people poor, but they don't go steal. Before they go steal, they go ask the man, "Can I have this?" If the man.
I'm trying to bring balance to the statement because our job as the media personnel, we are supposed to present the two sides of the coin. And so what I'm saying, what I'm saying, you jump on me before I can say what I was going to say. What I'm saying is, you know, when we talk about people stealing, the Bible says that if a man steals because he is hungry. So let's bring balance to that. Stealing is the principle of stealing. Yeah, the stealing. Let me say it. Okay. The principle of stealing is wrong.
Right.
But you have to create this scenario around these young people who we're talking about, so that they are empowered not to steal. For example, education, access to information, education. All right, access to an environment where they are provided for. Because what is the point? What is the point giving principles to a poor person who doesn't know how to apply them?
See,
this is a question coming in on our chat. So please respond to Roger.
I'm gonna answer. You know, in this world we have a lot of theories, and people subscribe to their theories. Well,
so you're speaking to him. Okay?
Okay, the theory that I subscribe to, I came up in abject poverty. I deal with a lot of people who come up in abject poverty. Jesus himself said, the poor will always be among you. Okay, and he said that in context with when they wanted, not only that, when one of the disciples wanted to sell, so we could have sell this stuff and give it to the poor and stuff like that. The whole thing is that if you're gonna go out and teach people values, and I don't disagree with you, if you're gonna go teach them
Not,
values,
not, not me, Roger. Roger, who sent the message in WhatsApp
I'm
chat?
not disagreeing with him.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with him either. If you're gonna teach people values, do not go to them try to teach them values if they're hungry. That in itself is wrong. Okay,
Okay, Roger, you hear that?
how could you teach them values and principles on a hungry stomach? You feed them. You feed them, and then you feed them, and while you feed them, you create a relationship with them, and you teach them values so that they who steal or who stole would steal no more. And like you said, my thing is, you creating, okay, the government that we elect, they are not our savior. See, the point is, we like to look for saviors, and we don't realize that our future is not ahead of us. Our future is trapped within us.
Troy,
Yeah.
you're going to have to come back on this program because we have 3 other questions coming in.
For sure, man.
We have 4 minutes to go, and can you imagine the time has gone already?
Yes.
Give us how can what steps should a person take? One, if the person wants to get into this area of correctional services.
Basically, the steps that they want to take, I would say, if you want to find out if that's your desire, then you go and do your research. You can do it, Google online. Now we have the internet with us. You Google online and you find what it's all about, do your research. Then also go volunteer with organizations within your community that actually are helping, because corrections is not only inside of the prison, corrections is outside the prison. So go volunteer with those non-profit organizations. Get a handle, learn exactly what is happening on the ground, and feel the pulse of the people so that they wouldn't have an excuse to steal.
Okay, if an organization out there wanted to invest in Elite Institute right now, give us in 1 minute, why should people invest in your organization?
Why should we? Because we changing lives. We are training young men for change. We are change agents. Okay, and that's why one should invest in our organization, because we are changing the mindset of the Caribbean. We are changing the mindset to help the Caribbean realize their truest potential as a regional body.
Okay. Thank you so very much, Troy. Guys, just heard from Mr. Troy Clarke, correctional specialist and addiction specialist international. And this is not going to be the last time he's going to be on our program. We're going to be inviting him back, but we're out of time and we have to hear from our sponsors. Have a wonderful evening.